Hi everybody, welcome to Nicely Soiled. This is Valentina and I'm very happy you clicked on this video. So the question is it possible to leave all your beloved plants for an indefinite amount of time with somebody who doesn't know anything about plants and having all of them thriving when you come back? Yes, so the answer is absolutely yes. It happened to me. I had to leave very quickly and leave all my leafy souls with my brother, who doesn't know absolutely anything about plants. He never cared about them, but he of course cared to help me and to make sure that I wouldn't be sad when I return and find like a desert in my office. So I'm so much thankful to him, and we're going to interview him at the end of the video. So, you know, he will help you maybe clear some doubts, if any. I'll tell you a few tips on how I did it, how teamwork worked really well. And yes, all these little tricks will surely help you if you're planning your holiday or if you really have to leave for any possible reason. Okay, so let's get started. So my first tip, the one that I really think is super important, is that you keep all your plants in one place. I know each plant has its own place, its own nice corner where it is comfortable, but you cannot expect a person to remember where you could have possibly left the tiniest plant, okay? Because especially me, that I have like something like, I don't know, I can't count the number of plants. If I leave a few in a corner, a few in another corner, then one like up there, the other one down there, and on the right and the left, absolutely impossible. At least a few plants will be forgotten, and that's not what you want, it's not your goal, and it doesn't help the person who is actually doing you a favor and helping you take care of your plants in situations that are a bit abnormal, right? Yeah, so this was tip number one. Keep everything in one place, in one room, all together. Good. Second tip is to use semi-hydroponics as much as possible. Semi-hydroponics, if you don't know it yet, it is a way to cultivate plants that doesn't use soil, but uses mainly inert materials. Sometimes I also use with clay, I use moss, because that's another very good material. But anyway, how does that work? I'll tell you very simply. So let's take this example of this clarinardium that I propagated from cutting. Let me know if you want to know how I did it. It's definitely thriving in this condition, in this spot. And look at the roots. So how does that work? So you have a water reserve of clay. After that, I put a little bit extra clay, and then I put the cutting and covered also all the rest with other clay. You can also cover the top part with moss or with perlite. It's absolutely fine as well. Then, of course, when the plant grows really well, the roots will go down in water. But at this point, you will not really have to worry about the roots being in water, because it's going to be simply okay. The bottom part of the root is going to be used to staying in water. So the plant will be absolutely okay with it. So worry not, your plant will be absolutely fine, even if, again, you keep feeling a few centimeters of water. But at least this is a great way to ensure your plant is not going to be overwatered. The roots just don't rot. And by capillarity, the humidity and the water goes up. Okay. And the roots are stronger than the ones in complete hydroponics, because they are kind of used to being in a lower amount of water. So what I did was I marked the jars, and I was telling my brother, please, in these jars, fill in the water up to, for example, here where there is the mark. And he was simply doing that. Whenever the water was finished in the jar, he was just refilling it. Simple as that. He couldn't go wrong, because if it was going above the mark, then he would just remove a bit of water, like if you do like this, then the water then flows away. So there's just no way to make a mistake with that, right? Good. So, but this is this is a bit a slow method. Why? Because filling in hundreds of tiny jars of water takes you hours. If you do it like 100 times, you will see that it's very, very, very time consuming. So impossible. So I came up with a different method for that, which is this one. Okay, so it works exactly the same. Just imagine this, for example, pot. Instead of being glass, you have clay, and the water reserve is more or less up to here. When the water of the basket is gone, evaporated, then you just simply refill it. And when you refill one, you refill like at least 2, 4, 5 plants, but even more. I mean, depending on the how big the box is, then you can actually water quickly so many plants. And I'll show you also my propagation box. It works exactly the same. That's even so much faster to maintain. Watch until the end of the video, because that's going to be so easy and such a great way to both propagate the plants and to maintain your plants well. Okay, so I want to show it to you briefly, just to be sure that you're familiar with this method. Here I want to put this, if possible, this should be bigger. Disclaimer, this should be bigger. I don't have a bigger one. If it's possible, then I'll keep them here. If it's not possible, then sorry, I'll still anyway show you the method. And so this is my squamiferum. It has already rooted. It's quite happy here, but I need a fast and a quick way to water these two beautiful beings. Oh my goodness, look at what a nice surprise. That's so beautiful. Okay, so this is one, and the second one is here. Philodendrons love to be grown in semi-hydroponics. I mean, that's something that I noticed. It's a way that I would never abandon, because it's so easy and straightforward and quick. So okay, so the first thing is to have a water reserve. I'll put a finger here, otherwise the whole will. Okay, so we put more or less like the clay is more or less up to here. Okay, good. Then we put the plant here, one, and this is the second plant. Okay, so the water is not going to reach the roots, because it's more than a few centimeters above the water. And then, I don't know if you can see it, we're filling in whatever is left. It should be taller, but to have more stability for the plants. But what can we do? We have to make sure you don't compromise on the level of the water reserve. I mean, that's something that you can't compromise as a space, because the plant can easily rot if you put the roots in water. So you have to make sure that the water reserve is at least more or less like this, if the level of water is like this, more or less. So basically the roots used to soil should not go in water. That's the rule that you should always keep in mind. For the rest, is pretty simple and straightforward. I'll show you the result. The pot was perfect. Okay, so we have this beautiful squamiferum, okay, with the clay up to here. We know that our roots start from here and our water reserve is just like this. So now I'll put them with all the other tiny plants. They've been in water for quite a while and look how they are growing. It's just an unbelievable. This is a Syngonium erythrophyllum, commonly known as red arrow because as the leaves grow, they become red. Now they are not very mature, but as time goes by, then they will be more and more mature. You see here on the top part, I put moss and it's growing really, really well. So here I have a philodendron micans, just to show you what can go with this method. Of course, you would never put a cactus in semi-hydroponics. I don't know if you can do it, but I would never do that. Okay. Then we put this here. Okay. And we'll refill it just a little bit. Now you won't be able to see me because water is not much. Just 2 centimeters. Okay. Top. This method requires a bit of time, not too much maintenance, and okay. While if most of your plants are in soil, which I really don't recommend, especially if you have philodendrons, I mean, it's okay, but I don't think it's really a great option, especially if you have to leave them to somebody, because it allows much more, I would say, margin of error. So maybe for me, a soil is wet, but maybe for somebody else who doesn't know is dry. So the options are 2. Or you ask the person to stick their finger in the soil up to as much as they can, okay? And they will tell you, yes, it's dry, no, it's still moist, but it's quite a lot up to them. Thankfully, my brother was clever enough to understand what was dry and what was not. But you can also have a moisture probe. It's a little help. So if you're familiar with that, you can say, I don't know, your level of humidity of the soil should not go above this range, not go below this range. So the person sticks the moisture probe in the soil and will actually verify with numbers what it is. Okay. I don't recommend sticking the carrots, sticking the things in the soil. I don't think it's an option. I tried it. If something goes wrong, it will mess up all your plants because sometimes they get stuck with calcium. Something may not work. Just avoid, have a human checking because unfortunately it could actually be a problem. Okay. Another good tip is make sure you ask the person who is taking care of all your plants to look for yellow leaves, brown spots, brown leaves, anything that is irregular, or also floppy leaves, because that's not a good sign. Also, I would say schedule video calls just to make sure, if you schedule them regularly, you can at least guide, see what the person is doing and correct for any possible mistake. Okay, so, you are checking if your plant is similar to what it was when you left, or if it's a disaster, if it's very floppy and the person doesn't understand that it has changed, because that could be. And ask for anything that doesn't look good. Finally, one final thing is that I want to show you my propagation box that worked really, really, really well also for the time I was away, because that was almost self-maintaining. So what it means is that my brother only had to check if everything was okay, to check that the level of water was still there, but just as a precaution. but it was really self-maintaining. I didn't ask him to do absolutely anything further to maintain it. So the method works really, really well, and I'll also publish a video about it, and I'll explain in depth how to create it and where to find all the materials, because that may not always be easy if you want something that looks nice. So let's dive in the propagation box now. Okay, so diving deep in the propagation box, you see that this is an aquarium, a dismantled aquarium with the lid, plexiglass lid, grow light and heat mat. I will tell you much more in the next video. But anyway, here I keep my collection of tropical plants that I'm either propagating, for example, as this Syngonium pink neon. Okay, then I propagated these alocasias, sabrinas, and the stingray. You see here the monstera minima or Rapidophora tetrasperma. Here you see I have many. They are warm in a humid environment and sunny thanks to the grow light. Okay, this Maranta was super difficult. It was dying outside of the aquarium, but inside of the aquarium it's really thriving. It has put so many new leaves. Sorry, apologies, you saw my fingers hiding the screen. Okay, look how beautiful it's growing. It's a Maranta lemon lime. This one is looking for the light from a different source, but anyway, these are super picky. The Philodendron verrucosum, super picky, but inside the aquarium they are doing absolutely fantastic. This is a Philodendron gloriosum, always unfolding new leaves all the time, because when it's nice, hot and humid, then also in winter they are very happy. This is a monstera juvenile still. So, and the method is exactly the same, guys, because there is a layer of water, and I put them there, making sure that the initial roots were not soaking in water, and yeah, this is it. And now you're going to meet my brother and see what he has to tell you.